welcome to the Old World Fanatics, your Warhammer Fantasy podcast to quench your hobby thirst for all things the Old World. And I'm back, I'm Gommo, and I'm joined by Andrew and Josh. How's everyone tonight, guys?
Good, thank you.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Sorry, I just decided to take a mouthful of ice just as you started.
That's okay. I was, for those astute listeners, realise we did have the music come through there. It's a bit of a hacky way that I just did it. However, I didn't have my show notes up then, so I didn't have the intro in front of me. And I was like, well, I'd be able to just say it off by heart because I've said it so many times. So I was scrambling as well. Oh, great intro. Cool. We are back for episode, I think we just said 28, so of Old World Fanatics. It's all Old World at the moment. We've got just hobby, mostly. And erratas to talk about from our rules discussions last week. I think some cool feedback came in from that straight away, which is exactly what we wanted. So thank you, listeners. And then we got Andrew and Josh was involved. We got our first proper Old World live stream happening on Thursday night. So 2 games in. I know it's pretty dumb. People probably laugh at it, but I'm like, only 2 games in and then we're trying a live stream. But I mean, how else do you learn? You got to throw yourself in the deep end.
Yeah, absolutely. Live stream while learning the rules.
That's it.
So,
there's a bit of sinking, a little bit of swimming.
Yeah, pretty much. But as a result, like some stuff came out as that as well. We've got a battle report out tonight. So the live stream's there, obviously, but it's, 4 hours long, 3.5, something like that. So Andrew and I did a 35-minute quick summary, just picture report, if for those who don't want to spend that much time looking at a game. But we will touch on today as bit of the battle report, but also some of our thoughts that may come out of it and some of the questions and feedback that we got from playing it because of the live stream. We got we got everything pretty close. Worst case, I think we forgot some things, but it wasn't like crazy broken, I don't think. So I think we're getting close to sort of knowing, but not remembering all the rules, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I haven't seen any of the feedback, so I'll be interested to see what you guys got right and what you guys got wrong.
Heaps helpful. And the biggest feedback we got, the guy, I can't remember who posted it, but he was like very sort of hedgy, like, don't take it the wrong way. And I was like, man, that was awesome. Like, I can't believe he spent that much time. Like, he obviously watched the whole game and then wrote down stuff that he saw. So 100% behind that, because how else are we going to learn? And other people can learn from it as well. So,
Yeah, it was really, really good. Like you said, like just the way he was like expressing it rather than people just, giving you like this backhanded like rules correction. It's cool. Yeah.
No, it's cool. And I mean, anyway, we'll get on to, the errata bits as well, because I think they, when I say errata from last week, there's a couple of things. And it's funny, even in the last week, some of the things, particularly one of them around that close order stuff, there's still threads popping up every couple of days on the Old World Facebook group about it, because it's just obviously needs an FAQ, but anyway. Cool. Yeah, so we'll get on to some of that. But first, let's thank our Patreons, which are now up to, I'm getting a bit confused here. I think it's actually 19 patrons, but 17 paid patrons. So Josh is one of them. Not a paid one.
Okay.
You're a free one still.
Probably get myself off that list again.
We've got 17? Cameron Bloom is our, we've got 17. God. Yeah.
Wow.
That's very good. So big thank you to those ones. And of course, it's only like $2 a month, or I can't remember, or $3.50 a year, or whatever it is. But just $3.50, I think. Pay for some stuff. Yeah, it's really confusing. Patreon gives you the currency they pledge in, so we get like £2, we get like $3.50 Australian, obviously, but then we get like 20 Hong Kong dollars and Canadians $3, and so I don't know. Must convert it, obviously.
Oh wow! I didn't realise.
It's just weird. So anyway, I'll get through that. So Cameron, the newest guys are Cameron, Chris, and Harrison, which came on, I think, last week, which is pretty cool. Thanks, guys. But otherwise, Gilthos, Julian, Diesel, and I'm probably changing people's names now because I can't remember everyone. Cameron Atkinson, Richard, William, Robert, Hugh, Andrew McAllister, Bubba Gherkin, Gunwich, Sean, Todd, and Chapstick now. We just call him Chapstick, but Jared.
Chapo.
He's Chapo, yeah. Thanks, guys, so much for that. Really is helping us keep this going. For those who want to join, it's on the link, QR code on the screen up there somewhere. Scan your phone, go for it. And I just want to say too, just in terms of support and stuff, our YouTube stuff went awesome last week. Partly streaming and obviously just us putting out more content, which has been really cool. And we got accepted into the YouTube partner program, so we obviously have enough public hours and views and all that sort of stuff. So, won't be throwing ads all over the place, but I'm assuming some of the older content, as it's popular, will just, get some ads on there. But if you're on our live streams, obviously, there'll be super chats and things like that. It just helps us obviously get a little bit of money back. And I would imagine YouTube, like promoting, I would imagine we get pushed out in the algorithm if you are on that, because in the chance that they would make money out of it, do you know what I mean? Like, so I think it would help that even if you don't monetize all the videos, which is cool. So we can get our reach out a bit more. So that's pretty cool. Any news though, guys, outside of that? I don't think so. There's been no Games Workshop.
As in Games Workshop news?
No. Crickets.
Pretty silent, hasn't
it? Yeah. They're probably getting over like that. They probably worked all Christmas and now they're getting over it all. Because they've done the new release now with Dark Angel and stuff, but even some of this Space Marine stuff that's going out, it hasn't felt very pushed from Games Workshop even. I feel like they're all exhausted or something.
They're on leave. Like sometimes you're just like, you got all this stuff and it's just like, once it's all over, it's like no leave until it's done.
Yeah, no,
then everybody takes off 4 weeks.
Because they would have had to work all over Christmas. I mean, they probably do mostly a little bit, like they're not like Australia. They're not having 6 weeks off, but
I guess one thing that's not a non-GW related one is, did you see the post about someone's trying to get the Legacy Army books all printed off professionally?
Yes, we need to.
It's worth an announcement, I feel.
Yeah.
Yes. So what is that, Josh?
I think it was because that was Andrew Hollis, wasn't he? He posted a link in. We posted the whole thing about it on the Old World Australia group. Whereas he's based in Canberra, but he's going to get a whole bunch of these books posted. If you want a copy, just put your name in on the Facebook group. Just add your name to the thread, I think, and then he'll probably contact you. I'm not sure how he's going to do it. Actually, there's a lot of names on there now. So he's already
he did Magic Cards, and he sent them out.
Yeah,
they're
it looks
apparently
like the same bloke,
months away, but they're doing that. And it's like $80 Australian. Minus postage, because they're all coming to his place and then he'll send them out. But I mean, I can't imagine that's more than $10. But it's effectively cheaper than how much of the Ravening Horde and Binding Fantasy? Were they 100?
I think they were well, depends where you bought them from. I think it was 90 through GW and 70 through a third party.
So I mean,
so it's in the same ballpark, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Which, and you're not going to be able to get them printed from GW, so this is sort of your only way of getting a physical book unless you do it yourself.
And you're not going to paint. You're not going to, as I found out, you're not printing that from Officeworks for that price either, probably.
Nah,
it'd be
as I found out
50% more.
Eh?
I think he was looking for someone. Yeah, I mean, in the post he mentions the idea of potentially having someone in each capital city take some of the deliveries and then locally distribute them as well. That might also help to reduce the local postage fees, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We'll see how it works out.
Yeah. No, that's well worth. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I did think of it when I read it, and then I didn't put it in our show notes here. Cool. The other thing I just want to say is, we've got an Empire faction review going out this week on YouTube, which will be cool. With Angus/ASB, he's going to come on and do that with us. But we also, I was talking to a guy called Irish from Miniature Horde through Facebook. He's been obviously he's got an online store, in Melbourne, doing up until Old World came out, just doing the normal 40k AOS range, Games Workshop stuff. But with all the movement tray stuff, he's got a heap of new movement trays, adapter trays. And I know a lot of people have asked. I see it all the time on the forums, like, where do I get them from? Or other people that have been selling bases are now out of stock sometimes. So I got a bunch of stuff from him, and he threw in some extra stuff as well. So I'm going to do... For those who listen to me, they probably knew I wasn't originally going to do adapter trays, and I still won't long term, but knowing how annoying it was to get some bases off, I went, bugger it, I want some adapter trays to get a bit ready. So I thought I'll do a video this week. I'm going to go through the stuff he sent and just show people on camera the goods and bads of using adapters plus the other stuff he sells that I got, some of the resin stuff, just for those interested. And then if you like what you see, I guess, just hit him up. I'll put links and stuff in that video. But I think that's worth saying that that's coming this week as well.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. That sounds really good.
But anyway, let's get on to some hobby, because I feel like there was some hobby done. Because you had a slow go, didn't you, Josh? Do you want to start with hobby this time, Josh?
Yeah, I can start with the hobby. I mean, yeah, it's probably mainly the slow grow that I did this week. It's been a bit of time trying to put together my Pegasus Nights and that type of thing as well. But yeah, probably the main thing I did was the slow grow, which because I did want to talk about it a bit, because I did have a scenario I put together and I was sort of intrigued as to how it was going to go.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I even showed you guys.
I saw the post on Facebook.
Oh, no, I posted on Facebook.
But I didn't read the scenario. I saw that you posted it, but I didn't read it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's right. I did publish it up. Because, this was a round where I probably should have done this in an earlier round, really. But it occurred to me that we're still on quite small armies, so that I was like, oh, we could just play some doubles games. Like I keep persisting with these doubles. I did a CanCon, and I'm doing a slow grow. Partly it was because also the CanCon one, I only got the one scenario done. There was only one round.
Yeah.
I made 2 scenarios, and I was more interested with the second one, because the second one was like a bit of a crazy deployment where your partner essentially is deployed diagonally opposite to you in the other corner of the board, which is a very different feel to how you play the game, because suddenly you've got 2 on each flank. You've got opponents. The other thing with the scenario was I had 5 objectives in the middle, like mobile ones you could pick up. That I kind of got that idea from one of the resurrection events. And then I also, this is sort of a later thing that I added on, that I sort of took the inspiration from one of the uprising events. So one of Ben's ideas was that he was going to have some buffs going on that he didn't really know what the buff was until he picked up the objective. And then you look underneath and you see what the buff is, like +1 weapon skill or extra strength or whatever. But I sort of took it a step further and actually made it like a spell effect. And not only could it be a beneficial spell effect.
Okay.
It could also be
negative,
a really bad spell effect as well. The fluff being the whole thing is it's it's actually a wizard that's left these objectives around the field. So they're like arcane objectives. So then you pick them up, and then the troops don't really know what these things are, and then you potentially just have the arcane objective just fire off a spell completely uncontrolled, and you just hope that it might be a benefit, and then otherwise not. So
it's like a chance card in Monopoly. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't really know what you're going to get. So because I had like 8 spells. 4 of them were beneficial. 4 of them were negative. A through to H, and then you look underneath the alphabet on the objective and see what you got. I think the comet was the first one. Comet was in retrospect quite a powerful thing to have.
So it starts coming down where you pick the objective up, or
so
the
comet stitch up.
It's have done that. No. So the comet was a beneficial one. Essentially, the unit actually casts comet irresistibly. Immediately. So then you can then cast it somewhere else on the board. I guess I could have had it so
that's fair.
Pick it up
has a comet land immediately.
Josh would have had no friends after that tournament if that happened.
Yeah, I think the worst one I had on here, number H, was disaster. The unit is immediately affected by Bane of Forged Steel, which actually disintegrates your mundane weapons in the unit for the rest of the game. So you lose like great swords, lances, all that's gone. I didn't actually have the gumption to put H on the board for those tournaments. So I was like, that is brutal. That could ruin a game.
Yeah, it is.
And what size are you at now? Is it 1,000 or?
Yeah, we hit 1,000. We hit 1,000. So the way it worked, it was 1,000 in each corner. But I mean, as I said, I could have done this in a previous round. It actually would have been almost better if it was at 800 or 600 round. Just not as big. And yeah,
I think your video's lagging a bit, Josh. So if people are watching this and it's a bit out of sync, just ignore it. It's fine. Keep going, man. It's all good.
Is it okay?
Yeah, okay. Darren, it's fine.
Cool. Because the comet was actually pretty disastrous. Because the way it worked out was that the people that went, the guys that went first, so it was Skaven and goblins versus wood elves and high elves basically, and the goblin guy just had his wolf riders go up and grab maybe 2 of the objectives, including the center one, which is the comet, that he put straight onto the middle of the wood elf line. He cast it. And then at the start of the Wood Elves player, the comet comes down.
It's just God. Is it starting strength 4? I can't remember.
Strength 5, 2d6 strength 5 hits.
Wow.
And it,
it's the 2d6 goes up, does it? Is that what
took
happens every comet?
It goes wider, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets wider the more turns it takes.
Yeah.
So add more and more inches. So it was only like it was a relatively small bubble. It was 4 or 5 inches only, but because it was at the center of his deployment,
still hurt.
It still killed his wizard, his war dancers, most of a unit of Glade Guard, and 2 wounds off his eagle, and maybe 3 or 4 Eternal Guard as well. Like, so it killed a third of his army. So yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is, he didn't actually end up losing the game, even though half his army got taken off. Him and the High Elves actually managed to sneak a win in the end. It was actually kind of a crazy game. Like, I was standing there watching it the whole time because we actually had 6 people come this week. And it meant that, so we ended up doing 1 table doubles and 1 table singles. If I'd bothered to bring a second 1,000 point army, I could have done 2 doubles with me controlling 2 armies, but I couldn't be bothered. And then suddenly when I got there, I was like, oh, maybe I should have done that. Anyway, so yeah, I watched the whole game and it was actually really odd. The whole flow of it, it was actually kind of chaotic almost. Like, just because people weren't able to interact with the deployment zones and where your armies are coming from and what direction you're supposed to be moving in a normal way, because you've got all these enemy units coming in from both sides. It was a bit of a whirlwind. Actually, I'm interested to see how it would go as a weird sort of singles game as well. I think there's a possibility I could try that. But yeah, the thing that I would probably change about the spells is that the one thing with those spells is because they all occur at when you first pick them up. It did sort of happen over the first couple of turns, and then it was all done, and then the rest of the game was like regular. Sort of.
Right. And could you lose them or anything, or they're just like you pick them up?
The objectives. Oh, you can lose them for sure. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like just not similar to the cart from CanCon in a way, except that if you fled, you drop it for any reason. So if you fled, you drop it, whatever. And I think how the Wood Elf guy actually ended up winning the game with a High Elf guy. One of the moments was that the unit of 5 Goblin Wolf Riders that had picked up 2 objectives. You lose fast cav when you get the objectives as well, which is a rule from the Resurrection Pack as well. They'd actually moved. They were trying to get into the Skaven's corner because they couldn't turn around because they weren't fast cav anymore. So they got 2 objectives. They were heading that way, and then the Rat Ogres, who had lost their pack handlers, by the way, by a fiery blast that had exploded in their face when they picked up the objective, which is hilarious. They charged into some Eternal Guard with a noble in it. The Eternal Guard actually just minced them and killed them. And then the Wolf Riders that were nearby actually failed the panic check from the Rat Ogres being destroyed in combat. And then so they fled and they dropped their objectives. So the Eternal Guard took the objective off the Rat Ogres because the Rat Ogres had one and they killed them in combat. And then they just marched up and grabbed those other 2. And suddenly this big block of Eternal Guard had 3 out of the 5 objectives. Like it was just funny how those things sort of work out sometimes. But yeah, it was actually a fun game. I really liked it, and I guess, as I said, I would like to see the spells more sort of pushed into the middle of the game or have more ongoing effects. Like, so the interesting with what Ben's done for Uprising in a few weeks is it's a status effect, like an extra weapon skill or extra strength, I think. Or I think one is like -1 leadership. Actually, there's a debuff one, but I think that one's worth more objective points. Is that they're an effect the rest of the game, so you get a buff or a debuff, and it's still sort of, there's elements to that might add more strategy. So yeah, I'm not sure what I might do. I might have it so that you don't know when the spell's going to go off, and then you only check to see what it is once you roll a 4 up or something. I might change it like that, or or maybe the earlier you pick up the objective in the game, the more likely it is to be a negative spell. Maybe so you roll the dice to see what the spell is, but the more turns have passed, the more likely you are to get a positive one. So maybe there's a bit of a standoff in that way. It's like, who goes to get it first? You're going to take the risk of getting blasted by trying to pick it up, turn one with fast cav. Hold off, So you sort of want to have a bit of a little bit more of a risk reward rather than just completely random almost.
Yeah. It should be like one of them should just randomly explode one of the other objectives, like if 2d6 strength 5 hits or something. But you don't know which one it is, and one of yours could be carrying it, but also the enemy could be carrying the other one when you pick it up.
Yeah,
it's like
that'd be funny. That'd be funny. Or you've had like fake. We've had like fake objectives. So you had like 7 objectives, and it's just when you pick it up, you don't know if it's actually just like an empty box until you pick it up.
Well, you could do something like that, couldn't you? Where it's like you write down one of them, and they write down one of them, which is saying that that one's not real, and they know that one's not real, and then you just see which ones are going after it.
I actually really love trying to think of scenarios and make it. I've been enjoying that more and more over the last sort of 6 months or so. And this leads into the rulebook a bit for Old World, because when I read those scenarios, I was like, these are pretty vanilla.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
they're not much more interesting than the 8th ed ones. They're very similar.
No, I mean, I do like, and I wish probably need to start doing it on the battle reports, and they've only done 2. But I do like different deployments, not the randomy elements, but I do like. I don't mind the sort of different deployments, like the diagonal or even up the other way up the board and stuff, because it just totally changes how the game is played, and also gets away from that idea of there's a hill and 2 forests and stuff, like, because now that you're playing the other way, it doesn't matter. But the actual scenarios are a bit weird. But they're a bit bland, like you said.
Yeah, those long deployment zones. There's like impassable terrain along the edges and stuff. Along the edges, which is kind of cool. I don't mind that. The diagonal deployment's really narrow too, isn't it? 6 inches
that
away
was
from
one.
the
I
center.
think you said that. Yeah, it's
which is
much thinner than
really
8th, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think 8th was 9. I think so. It was at least a little bit further away. I seem to remember in an early. I'm not sure if 9th age still has it, but I remember there was one deployment back in like 1.3. In like an early iteration, that they had a similar dynamic where they had a diagonal deployment with 6 inches from the center, but once you start deploying, you couldn't deploy a unit within 18 inches of an enemy unit.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like a dynamic of you would deploy quite close to each other, but then you would actually claim territory.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
So I'd be tempted to have that kind of dynamic, I reckon, in that kind of deployment zone, because I think
it'd be interesting. Well. It's probably hard because it's better for normal scenarios, but there was ones, I think they used to be in, I don't know what edition, or maybe it was in Siege, where you would have like half your force or something on the table in the middle, and then you'd get attacked from all sides, but then your rest of your army would turn up as a reserve somehow. Do you guys remember that? It might have been a 5th edition thing, or like just a scenario in Siege, or I can't remember.
Yeah, maybe it was in the General's Compendium and 6 as well. Like I've seen that iterated a few times. So maybe it was in Siege too. The hard thing I find about that is, like, it's a really cool theme you sort of want to do, but when it's asymmetrical, I find it's
certain armies that deal with it okay, others just be horrendous.
If you're just doing it as part of an event or a games day or something, if you don't know what armies people are taking, people aren't prepared for it, it's a harder one to know. Like I'm trying, most of the scenarios I'm trying to do are ones that I could go, could I adopt this to a tournament? Could I adopt this to semi-competitive play?
Yeah.
It does limit your flexibility because it is a lot of fun to design asymmetric scenarios. But you got to make sure if people aren't necessarily playing with people they know, even if it's informal, that the objectives are relatively similar in terms of evenness and ability to
and what
to
they're
achieve
actually
them.
going for. Yeah,
Because if you're playing in something that's asymmetric, but one person might be able to win more easily, but you're just with friends, so you don't really care. You're just having fun together because you know each other. I feel like it's a different dynamic. Anyway. But I do like the idea of having attackers, defenders, and having like a defender in the center of the board, and then the attackers can deploy around them, and then maybe you have a rear guard for the defenders or something. They can come on the board in turn 2 or something like that.
6th edition one, because I went back and looked at the siege rules for that, and I think it was like the attackers, every time a unit dies, you just bring them back on. The whole idea is that they're just continually assailing the castle wall, and then it's down to like time and like if
maybe
the defenders can hold out for a certain period of time, then they win. And I really love that idea, that like especially if it's orcs attacking, they're never ending. It's almost like strategic. It's like, I won't kill the black orc unit because if I do, they're just going to come back on. So I'll try and leave them, half dead. And I'll just kill the shitty goblins and let them come back. That type of thing. But,
what do you guys think of when we talk about unusual deployments? Because there was definitely mixed response to the random deployment zones that we had at CanCon, where you had the 2 flank zones and the middle zone.
Yeah.
What do you think of the older sort of 6th ed meeting engagement rules, where you had to number each unit, and then you would deploy sequentially, but increasingly like outwards?
I don't even remember. I haven't even done that, so I probably can't remember. Yeah.
I thought we did it. We did it at Castle Assault. I'm pretty sure. One of them was. Well, maybe. Well, that's all. I remember doing it there, but maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
I
did it
second
wrong.
round.
Maybe I had a few beers at Castle Assault.
I mean, so maybe I explain it then. So basically, you number your units. So maybe units 1 down to 7, and unit 1 you deploy the center of your deployment zone. And then unit 2, you have to deploy to one side. And then unit 3, you deploy to the other side.
You're basically ordering your...
Was that
the castle side? I did not do it that
out.
way if I did.
I'm not sure. It was called main engagement, so that's how we played it. But maybe I'm not sure if everyone did or not. But essentially, the feeling is that your army is sort of arriving, but it's like
marching column type thing. They've like arrived, and the others
arriving. They keep coming around the side of it.
Yep.
I
could deal with that.
I feel like that's less punishing from just RNG type stuff, but still also having to think about what order should I be getting these units out? Because if you make a mistake, you actually can then it does actually compound that. It's very hard to come back if you put the wrong unit in the wrong spot and suddenly you've got no space on one side. It can
or your artillery is going to end up on the flanks or something.
Exactly. So I mean, that's one that hasn't been seen since 6th ed. But I wonder if that's actually got some legs to it. That could be used a bit more.
I do need to go through. I mean, I've skipped. Like, I probably have. Actually, I'm trying to remember. I don't think I've read the scenarios in the actual physical book. I've only read them when we got the PDFs and stuff initially. So I'll probably have to do that and just actually try to let it sink in. Because maybe next game, Andrew, we can. The old world. Maybe we actually roll up a scenario or something.
Yeah. I think, absolutely. I mean, it's been hard the first few games, isn't it? Because you're literally just like,
you don't.
I need to learn the rules.
That's right.
But I feel like there's so much stuff that we could play with to make.
The thing I like though, listen, maybe I think it's probably universal, or like around the world in old world, is like every tournament. I don't think there's many tournaments that just play out of the book scenarios. So it's. We don't really overly need Games Workshop to have good scenarios in the book, which is lucky. Whereas I find with 40k, it seems like they all play, and I guess they're using mission decks and stuff, so it's different, but it's all played out of the book, if you know what I mean, as far as I could see. I mean, I'm not a 40k player, but when I look at bat reps...
They're a bit more interesting, but they're sort of scenarios. So with Age of Sigma, they're tend to be a bit more interesting as well. Just having the objectives and
but I heard a really good description of this the other day. Because you guys have probably heard me whinge about. I like the idea of objectives. What I've got sick of seeing on 40k and AOS things is these huge transparent round circle things or mouse mats, one in the middle, two on either side, and you look at the table and it doesn't look like a battlefield. It looks like and someone described this in a podcast, not as a bad thing, but just said AOS 40k specifically, and now AOS they're board games, whereas Warhammer Old World is a war game. And I went, actually, I see what they mean. Like it's not really replicating it's not trying to replicate a war game. It's actually a board game, like in terms of the points and scoring and moving around and stuff. And whereas Warhammer, I think, as in fantasy, has probably tried to stay a little bit closer to just its wargaming roots, like it's ancients and stuff like that, which is more trying to replicate. It's not really, but replicating a normal army.
The flow of a battle.
A flow of a battle, not just randomly going to try and sit on 5 locations around the board.
Random locations.
Yeah. Which in a battle, yes, there's probably an objective. Most time it is to just wipe out the other enemy. When they line up, they're not like, So I'm not saying one's better or not. I thought that was a good description.
But you're taking like high ground or like cover or a town. Like there's something of value you're trying to take. You're not just taking random space.
Yeah. And so it's not bad. It was just I think an interesting description of it a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a bit of a rant there. Not rant, but sidetrack. So did you end up having to paint some? How'd your game go then? Because how many doubles games were there?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, there was, like as I said, so there was only the one doubles game. There was one singles game. I didn't actually play a game in the end.
Okay.
I was just there happily sort of refereeing and stuff. Interestingly, because I wasn't sure what was going to happen really with the slow grow because it's
the old world,
obviously. And it seems like I've got a fairly good sort of core group of people that just want to keep playing 6. Like I was asking them at the end of it, like I was like, guys, what are we going to do? And they were like, we'll just keep playing 6 if you want. Like we're halfway through already. I'm like, all right, okay. I think a couple of them want to be able to use the old world bases, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. If you want to change the faction and do an old world army, like I don't really care. Like I'd be happy for you to play old world rules as well. You know, they just but they're all quite happy playing 6 ed, which is surprising because I felt like a lot of the air has been sucked out of their older editions since the old worlds, exploded onto the scene.
Shiny new toy.
I was fully expecting them to be wanting to play the old world. And the funny thing is, like when we were playing at the House of War, there was like random people wandering past, going, "Oh, you guys, are you playing old world? You guys playing old world?"
Never thought of that.
Nah, mate. 6 ed.
You guys should get all these shirts and on the back.
Like 5 or 6 people, separately come by and ask the same question. Oh dear. But
That's funny.
I feel like we're going to continue to have that conversation every month. But I mean, the thing is, it's different rules to the old world, but it's still, it's still Warhammer. It still feels nice.
Yeah.
I have no particular complaint about playing either one really. I mean, I'm going to a 6 ed tournament in a month anyway, so I'm still in that world a bit. I was hoping to play some old world this week, but I don't think it's going to happen anymore. Just because someone has a partner's birthday going on. So
it's always a trick to try and. I mean, it's probably easier these days for me to get a game too, but it's still a commitment. And if you try to play, like, it's funny you see the people who, and I've never got round to doing this, where like they'll do a club night every week and they'll play like 2 games in a night. I don't know. I just feel like even that is a lot. Like, I don't know if I could dedicate one whole day night all the time or consistently. I mean, I could do it for a month, but yeah.
Rather than an ongoing thing, you mean? Like,
But the good thing about something like that is it's consistent, so people can come in and out of that. So I like the idea of it. I think Legions used to do a thing where there was like a weeknight meeting in the captain's room or something, whatever it was called, or whatever the hell it was.
I think they tried a few times.
Yeah. But anyway, something to think about. Cool.
I think that's all my hobby / slow grow stuff. What have you guys been up to?
Well, I got a lot. I got a bit done on the weekend. But Andrew, did you do stuff outside of the bat rep and scheming?
Outside of scheming, yeah, a little bit. So I got the bases off Hey Jake. I think I showed you guys previously. So they're a cobblestone appearance. So I'm really happy with the bases. Actually, I think they came up really well. And I got it was only like just over $100 for 200 odd bases. I think I need some more 25s. But yeah, a lot of that was sort of like bigger bases. And yeah, so I got a frog in the background here. Hopefully you guys can't hear it.
I can't hear it, but yeah, it's funny.
So what happens when you live out in the bush. It's like literally just outside the window, just cracking away. But yeah, this is probably the problem I think with the plastic, the spool feeding resin. The filament, as it goes around, it must not cut it as such. So it kind of like you get these little tiny hairs, sort of just across the top, just all the high parts, as it's kind of like finished one little high section of like a stone, and then it might go over to the next bit and finish that. It kind of just like leaves this little hair of plastic.
Like in between cobblestones and stuff.
Yeah.
Little strand.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, little strand of the filament, like tiny, but it's actually hard to get off. So I got like a really coarse plastic brush, and I tried to sort of just brush it off, just hoping it's just going to snap off. But it's quite resilient and flexible. So I just got a big sheet of sandpaper. I've just been trying to sand it up, and it's got rid of most of it, but not all of it. So the problem is with 200 odd bases. I've been there for hours. And I've got all the paint. So once that's done, hopefully this week, if it stops raining, I'll get out and actually get them all primed, and I'll start, get them painted.
Yeah, you're going to paint them all first, then you'll start breaking them off because you'll have them all ready to go then. That's good.
Yeah, and then once I put them on, then I'm going to start modeling them up. So I've got like some stones, like the little tiny pebble sort of stones, and some flock and a few bits and pieces. I was probably going to do something similar to, who was that? Might have been Gommo. You had like the strands, the yellow, look like hay sort of.
That's what I want to do, but I haven't got long ones. I want to get really long ones of them, but I haven't.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like between the cobblestones, you can have like a few bits of dead grass. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But that's where I'm up to. How'd you go? You've been.
Well, a couple of things. So I finally got, and I got some pictures, so I might bring them up. I've had this house that's been sitting here for like from March. I bought it like a year and a half ago, and I sort of half put it together, and then started to paint it, and then just got, I don't know, I just got distracted. So I'm just trying to find the bloody window again. It's gone. It just, I don't know. There was a couple of things, but it's just trying to get the color a little bit. And it's not so much like it's the color of the bricks were annoying for a bit because I was trying to do a lot of contrast paints, and my Basilican grey was just a dud one. It was like brown, it wasn't grey, and then it was half ugly, and then I left it, and anyway, so as a result, it just sat there, not getting finished. And I always envisioned. You guys can see the screen now, can't
you?
Yeah, I can see it.
I always envisioned like much more texture on the in this bit. I don't even call the walls here, but the actual resin building has some of it on there, but it wasn't that much. And when I tried to just like use contrast paints and then maybe a bit of a dry brush, it was just, when you try to dry brush a flat area, it just doesn't work. And so I just wasn't happy with it. And plus I tried 3 different yellowy colours, contrast, and so each, like for one side of this house had like 3 different colours initially, and it was just ugly. And as a result, when a model is like not even half done, but just a little bit done, and it just turns you off, and you're just like, it's not motivated, because you want to know what you're going to paint and then just smash it out. And anyway, so I finally, I got a proper Basilican grey like 6 months ago, and I was using it for something else. I went, I'll fix. So I fixed the the brick up,
The stone one,
and then
yeah.
I did the. I mean, it's sort of can see it. I did sort of that, the alternating, like where you just sort of do like bright reds. I had like an ochre color and a different color, and so it looks probably worse in this picture, but it looks pretty good in real life. It's like not over the top different, but heaps better than just plain grey, obviously. And so once I started the bottom of it, and I just went, I need to solve this yellow bit now. And I tried a few different washes and all that, and then finally I just pulled out the sand, Vallejo sand that I've got that I was going to use on Tomb King bases, but didn't. Like it's that, just the texture paint. I shoved that on there, and then I just agraxed it, watered down agrax and a little bit of camo shade around the edge rather than even paint it. So I didn't paint it. That's really just good. Straight on sand color. And it just looked way better. And then I just went, oh, fuck, I'll just do that. And then as soon as you did one wall and then just use I think it's snake bite leather for the timber, because I didn't want it, like I had some timber done with the wildwood and that was just a bit too dark. Well, at least I thought it was. It didn't have as much. I would have had to do more dry brushing, so I haven't had to dry brush any of it. And so it was just heaps quicker. I was just like, oh, wow. And it just came out. And so the Saturday, because I was home all day, I just like was motivated. Once I got to that point where I knew what the walls were going to be and the brick was done, it just took no time at all and it smashed it out. So then I went around and ended up buying like 5 more different ones off Etsy that are coming, because I'm like, I'm going to have to do it. Not of the same brand, because they've only got another like house, like a smaller one. And there's really good ones like, Tabletop Empire, whatever it's called, but they're pretty pricey. Yeah. And I can get other people to print stuff as well, but I just went, just like for this, I'll just get one that's already there in a pack. And there's 5 of them in it, and some are smaller, some are big, and they look pretty close to that style, to this one. So hopefully they will go together okay. I do have, I'm on the Kickstarter for the cottages from Tabletop. Their new one.
Oh, you are? I was literally
so I'm going to get that one.
I'm going to bring that up. So you are going to get those,
Yeah, and I know the thing with Tabletop are more decrepit looking, so they might not totally go together. So I might it's fine, because you always need more houses. And you're not going to put all of them on the board anyway.
Nah.
Switch them around,
different themes.
Yeah.
Just have them on the outskirts.
Yes. Yeah. I found a cool, like, totally run-down, destroyed one, like the whole roof's collapsed. So I thought that'd be cool, too, because you could have it, like, on the outskirts.
Yeah,
like
that would
be abandoned. Yeah.
Progressively more run-down
as it gets closer to
the outskirts.
Exactly. Yeah, the beast when it got to it. So, I did that. So that side hasn't been washed yet. You can just, it came out good. And then as a result, then I went, I did a hangout, hobby hangout, or painting on the Saturday night, maybe it was. And I was sitting there and I did what I needed to do. And then I went, bugger, I'll just start putting the Bone Dragon together. And man, I even said it on the stream, I heard comments that it's like, you need, each time you look at the next instruction, you need 2 pieces, and one's on each sprue. Like, and it's so true. It's like you're hunting down this one piece of bone, and they all look the same. And then the other piece you need to glue it to is on the other sprue, and so that you're constantly just switching these 2 sprues around, going, where the hell is this? Like, and finally, obviously, as you cut more and more out, it gets easier. But it was a bit of a jigsaw puzzle.
I've heard similar feedback about the Royal Pegasus side.
Must just
but it's lots of little fiddly bits and quite a bit of work to put together.
So so I put him.
Bit of a game.
Put him together and just that's the sand stuff. Just like put that down, and I covered it with a bit more sand, and I've just thrown some extra stuff in. It's a shame actually I got the miniature horde stuff just today after I did this, because he sent me a bunch of like smaller diorama skeleton dead animal, like stuff like that I'll put in there. But I'd already, I'll probably get 2 dragons, which I may talk to at some point, because I don't think I'm going to magnetize this guy. It looks too annoying, and plus I don't know. He's not actually hard to get together once you know that it's those first few bits take a little bit. So I feel like I might just try and get a second one at some point, sell off the rest or something. Like he's quite long. He's pretty big, but obviously I haven't done the top. He's going to look even bigger with a Tomb King on it.
Does that headpiece? Can you leave that off like
this thing?
Yeah, his little collar, whatever it is.
No. I mean, no. That whole bit is one, so you'd have to like cut
really
it out
hack
or
it up.
something.
Yeah.
Okay.
What would you be thinking to use instead?
I was just thinking if you've got two, you could have so they didn't look. The pose might look a little bit different with one missing the.
You can move the wings a little bit, like not massively, but like I've done it just how it came. But I think you could do some changes there to make him look a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as a result, then I went. I'm going to see if I can get this slow. So we got a 500 point slow, or 600 point for this Sunday's meet up at Legions, which I might go to now. Yeah.
Ooh.
And I'm like,
hectic.
I'd already got some of these guys out and rebased them, but I hadn't put it on movement trays and magnetized them. So I did that, and then they look sprayed white, but technically they're a pretty heavy white zenithal for contrast paint. So like I do them dark.
Yeah.
I do them black, grey, and then really hit the front with white, so that way it takes contrast paint better because it just looks too dark.
Yeah, you need the contrast.
Yeah, they look pretty oversaturated there, but they're not. However, today I was running and I went, I think this list is illegal, and it is. You can't have a friggin' wyvern at 600 points. So
you're trying to run a wyvern at 600 points.
I thought I could put a boss on a wyvern. I can't. I was just doing it as an excuse to paint the wyvern. But anyway, so no, I won't go do him.
Does it need 1,000 points? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, no, the boss, you can't take a boss. But yes, but you can't have a boss on a wyvern anyway. It's only a war boss. But I didn't realise that.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, I did realise that, but I just did it wrong. So that's me being just rushing this. But it's fine because I already said the guys at the club, I don't think I'm painting everything. I'm really rebasing as well. So I'm using the Black Orc. So I'm going to have a Black Orc boss, a wizard, and a chariot. Bring that in. I'm going to have a Black Orc boss on a chariot and a Black Orc. I think there's like a BSB in the Black Orcs, and then a wizard, and that adds up to what the wyvern was anyway. So actually, I'm probably painting less because I'm not painting the wyvern. I've already got the chariot done. But I'll just I just want to use it as an excuse to try rebase like the Black Orcs and stuff. So that's what I'm going to do.
A boss and a chariot be pretty tough as well.
Yeah, it's still going to be pretty good. So
yeah.
So I did that as well, and then so I did. There's no picture. Oh yeah, there's a little bit. I've been doing this. There's an awesome image that someone shared. I think it was on the Tomb Kings Facebook group, but and this isn't finished by any means, but he basically modelled his paint job off like a barbecue chicken. I just love that, like the rotisserie chickens for the US people. And they're a lot more, you get a lot more greys and stuff in the bone because, they're cooked and stuff. And the way he painted, so it still needs like a chunk of agrax around the joints. And then you do the dry brush bone all the way up, and then you do a really diluted, like almost glazed, agrax again, and then a really glazed, like a Sharpie bone color onto the middles of the bones. And I don't know, when I looked at his paint job, I'm like, this looks awesome. It looks like an old skeleton that's really come, looks better than just like a full bleached bone one. So I'm going to try that paint job and see what he looks like. So, but yeah, it's a pretty big skeleton to be, washing and it takes a while because there's so much to it. So it's going to take me a couple of days probably. But yeah, hopefully it'll come out pretty good. Yeah, I started the contrast on that guy, but I'll hold off now that I realised I did the wrong thing. Sorry, I'm talking now and showing pictures, and it's going to suck for audio. Sorry, guys. I was just looking at my dragon back then. But yeah, I've started rebasing my Black Orc. So they're just going on obviously the 30s. And you can see a bit of that red. Like I'm using a little bit of this red. It's not red. It's Tusker fur or something. Just a little bit of this pink on the ground as well. But the idea there, we talked about last week, is I'm going to use that a little bit more with mushrooms when I do the night goblins and stuff. And it's just going to blend it in a little bit. So they're going to be on just that. And then there'll be tufts like the normal grass tufts, but then I'll have like these pink ones, which I don't have a picture here, but I showed you guys. It's like a little pink tuft, but obviously I'll put more of them around the mushrooms and stuff, so like they're poisonous or something. I don't know. Like,
it wasn't like over the top pink. It was kind of like a
and it's got a little bit of yellow around it or something. It was
But it's a bit more like a pastel-y sort of pink almost.
Yeah, but it's still easy, and the thing is like the basing's almost the same. It's just got this red in it. So even if I rebase one of my old ones, like Chariot that I don't need to rebase, I can probably quickly just add some of that in and it'll look okay. So I don't have to fully rebase like all my trolls and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll just be able to fix them up so they match it. So anyway, that's what I'm hoping, but I'll see how that goes. That was pretty much it, I think. The other thing I'm doing though, which is pretty cool, which is not really hobby. It is hobby, but it's hobby storage, is I've got a display cabinet with, it's like an IKEA, but it's not IKEA. It's fantastic furniture display cabinet.
Hobby storage is a hobby in itself.
Yeah, and it's got all my good painted figures in it, but now it's full, right? Because I've got 4 shelves or whatever, and they're all full of the good armies that I've got. I've got a lot that's in boxes, and not boxes, but totes under beds and stuff. But now with Old World getting bigger, like the bases are bigger, I'm like, this is stressing me out. What am I going to do? Like, they're not going to fit in that display cabinet. And then I was just looking up Google, like, how do you put more shelves in one of these pre-packaged, like the little drill holes? Yeah. Well, there's jigs on Amazon. I didn't even know this stuff. You just buy this thing, and
they're
all standard 32 mil gaps, and you just these things like sit into the old holes, and then you just drill into new holes, and they even come with drill bits that are perfect size to just go just in enough. Yeah. And then you buy IKEA, they sell the exact shelves that go in. So I bought 4 shelves and this jig, and I'm going to like move them around, and I reckon I'll get 4 more shelves in this thing.
Yes, sweet.
And so what I do have a smaller display cabinet that I'm going to leave big so I can put the big stuff in, like high stuff. And then this one can have fairly small shelves because, most of your figures aren't massively high. I'm going to have way more like space without buying a whole new bloody display cabinet, which takes way more room. So that's my plan. So if anyone hasn't done that or they've got display cabinets, you can drill more those little cool little holes that you need to do on bookshelves. It's like $20 on Amazon. So it should be cool. Hopefully it doesn't wreck the chipboard, but it's designed, they've got the right drill bits and everything that should do it right. So.
Yeah, it should be fine. Yeah.
You're lucky your wife lets you put that sort of stuff in the house. Like,
well,
I'd have no chance.
She joked the other day going, man, like I'd love to have a room like this. But I mean, historically, I've always had an office and a study because I've worked from home for 25 years. So it just happens that this room now in the new house is bigger and it's all my stuff. But I do say she has the rest of the house. Like she has. So it's just fine. But we've got spare room too. And I said, if you want a home gym, just put a home gym in. That's fine. You can. Just not in this room. So, I think the work I've done in this room has paid for itself. So, So she's pretty happy. As long as it doesn't venture out of this room is generally the rule.
When guests come over, you can close the door.
Cool. Yeah, lots of hobby. And obviously we got our bat rep in, which we can talk about. And I don't know, do we go into that yet, or we want to do some erratas first? Let's get into the topics. Cool. So last week, actually, you know what I can do just for fun?
Hey.
Sound effect. Last week we chatted about some rules stuff and discussions, and I need to errata 2 of the ones that I definitely brought up. One of them was I did screw up the skirmisher thing because I'd read the wrong thing.
Yeah. I remember reading the next morning, I was reading the book and I was like, where is this bit that Colin was talking about?
Totally got that wrong. Well, I can't remember what I said, but I got it around the wrong way. Hang on. So what was it? It wasn't that you could get cover, but you couldn't join them or something. Is that what it was?
You can't join the skirmish unit if you're not the same subtype.
Yeah.
But you can still get cover from it.
Yes, but I was saying it had to be cover of the same subtype. Yeah. Yes, that's wrong. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So for those, and I did put that on the overlay, I think, or tried to, and maybe I didn't. So yes, if you're a skirmisher, so it is a bit different because usually you could join any unit that is your type, but skirmishes you need to be the subtype. But it doesn't affect cover. Yep. But cover's still the same type. So infantry don't get it from cav and vice versa. Is that right? Or
Colin,
not?
you're opening another can of worms.
I Well, now, yeah.
I refuse to say anything unless we get forced into Errata again next week.
Exactly.
Yeah, it sounds good. Okay, let's leave that one.
I can check it, but yeah.
Maybe check it, but I don't know if that
I'm going to check it before I say anything. I'm pretty sure you have to be the same type. I'm pretty sure you have to be the same type.
The other one was just the whole close order thing that so it's funny because I feel like Andrew, when I talked about these things last week, I was like, oh, we screwed these things up in our first game, and ironically I think we got it all right in our game. We just second guessed it afterwards. Like the close order, as far as we can see until you need FAQ, you do get close order +1 if you're a monster or heavy chariot. Whereas I think when you do read that other bit about the close order part where it says you need 2 or more models, that's where it starts getting weird. But then obviously the rules in those behemoths, monster, whatever the other monster is.
The lumbering rule.
Keetra, the lumbering rule.
Yeah.
It appears to override it. I think it still needs an FAQ, but I can see when people say it's overridden. I can understand why it is.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear. Yeah. And then to receive the bonus, though, you need to be in combat order, which which is being a single model, you're not longer than you are wide, I guess.
Well, it says square, but that the square's sort of like, to me, talking about kind of your formation, but
not so much your base shape as such.
So I don't know.
It seems to have gone that way, and I think people are at least saying yes, that's how it works. But that's how we played it. Just a second guessed it. When later I was like, oh no, because I wouldn't have beaten your big skelly block by that, to a man if I didn't have close order. But I mean, I think we played it right in that sense. And my horse dude was hanging out. He wasn't joined, but he was hanging out with those other guys in those heavy cav. So that was correct as well. But he was incorrect that he vanguarded or scouted with them, I think. I don't think he can scout with them because he doesn't have that scout rule, I think.
Yeah.
So he might even get that wrong.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Again, from previous editions.
So let's not bring some stuff up. But anyway, we wanted to fix those things up. And then we can move on to a little bit about our bat rep, do you reckon? I mean, we've got a battle report out in a live stream, so I don't want to hit it blow by blow, but more want to just have a quick chat about how it went, but also maybe some of the corrections that came through that we might have missed. If that's cool.
Oh, can I actually say one thing before we start that? Because it does relate to the combat order, the lumbering and all that kind of thing. And this is something I didn't mention it last week, but I only discovered it, and I put it up on Facebook.
God, yeah. Yes.
Like, oh my God! Like, it's the opposite extreme of the big lumbering boys. Is that when you've got monstrous infantry or monstrous cavalry character, they're considered a skirmisher.
Yeah,
it's like they're considered a lone character, and they're considered a skirmisher, which is pretty hectic because then they get 360 line of sight and all that kind of thing as well. Really quite scary suddenly that those smaller monstrous sort of mounts, especially Royal Pegasuses, suddenly you can suddenly charge in any direction and that type of thing. Demon Princes are another good example. And then I think the other ones I found was the Wood Elf Stags and the Warhawks. Again, they're all monstrous cavalry. They're not monstrous creatures as such. So you don't suffer from your they don't get close order, so you're not getting +1, I guess. But you don't have to worry about wheeling and you having limitations about pivoting at the end of your march move because of skirmishes, and then you can also charge in any direction.
Yeah, that's huge.
Which is, I feel like it's massive. It really makes it hard to justify sometimes if you've got the option to go that way. The
Especially when you get that Duke
big
loaded
creature
up on his peg. Demon Prince, obviously.
Man. Like, having a Duke with all the because he's a really powerful character, and being able to give him a 360 line of sight arc for charging I just can't see how that can be fair, to be quite honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, the best thing about this game is just think of it as like a version 1. Hey, that there's going to be some things that are a bit out of control, but hopefully,
yeah. I think this will be one of them. But hey, I'm gonna try it out, see how it goes. I'll report back to see how unbalanced it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Was there any with the Strugoi? Did they get monstrous infantry or anything like that? I couldn't find anything like that. No. Yeah. Because I remember like sometimes some of those versions you could get. Maybe it was in 9th Age. You could get quite large, chunky boys.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, it was like an upgrade, so they could jump in with the gas or whatever they are, which are the crypt horror equivalent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of then. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
So, I wish.
That would have been pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. See if they do an errata on that one, because I think it probably needs one.
I think outside of the summary of this game that we might have a chat just briefly about about some of those the big characters and what that's leading on to some content this week hopefully. So
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so Andrew and I got a game in. I took my orcs. So first time playing them. I actually put a live stream up last week and sort of built a bit of a list, although I changed it. I went sort of in the middle. And I just wanted to try run some monsters. So I had 2 wyverns. Like one was the wizard on there, and then the other one was... And really I wanted one of their salmon spells. I think is it Vindictive Glare, or is that a magic missile? One of them, but I didn't get that spell. And then a black orc, warlord guy with a 2-up save and stuff. Then I did go the build. I was umming about not taking a spider and having more like squigs and stuff, but I ended up taking the spider. So I ended up with 3 pretty big, like what could be considered as big monsters that you don't see a lot in 8th, like a spider and 2 wyverns, and then a mangler still, and like a unit of squigs and squig hoppers, just to try all that stuff out, and just a unit of black orcs and night goblins with fanatics and some chariots. So a bit of a mishmash. I just wanted to see how it all sort of went.
Very monstery.
Yeah, and just and I thought, most stuff's immune to. I didn't have a lot of impetuous stuff in it. I think it was just the squig herd. And I thought the night goblins were the only ones not immune to psych, and the chariots. But the chariots were always going to hang around. The plan was the chariots can hang around with my black orc on a wyvern. But the black orcs actually aren't immune to psych, which I think they used to be, but they're not now. But probably sort of didn't play too much of a... It was a risk there for a minute, though, when I realised that they weren't. So that was sort of my army. What did you end up taking? You took a much different vamp list.
Yeah. So spent a bit of time on this and another list. I figured I'll try the other list out next time. But basically, I was running a big vamp. So my general was obviously a count. He doesn't have any armor because he's a wizard. But he was running on a zombie dragon, which gave him a 4-up. Armor from the dragon. Level 2 wizard. He had the Master of Black Arts, which made him a level 3, because you can only go to a level 2 wizard as a vamp. You've got to get a vampire power to make your level 3. That's as high as you can go. The good thing with vampires being able to be a wizard is you can take your assailant spells, which is like really, really cool. So obviously that's usually going to be for a much less tough sort of guy. So that's something I've sort of learnt, which is pretty good. Bit of a buff. He had the Talisman of Protection. He comes with a 5-up regen base, so he ended up with a 4-up, 5-up, 5-up on the dragon. He was running the Dragon Slaying Sword, which is good and bad. Probably talk about that in a bit. Dark Acolyte, which gives him the Invocation of Nehek, which I forgot quite a few times. And he was running Illusion, and spoiler alert, he ended up rolling up the Spectral Doppelganger.
Oh, did he? Wow.
Yeah. So that came in handy.
Much ballyhooed. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But it's all about the weapon. So anyway, we'll get into that later. I was running a Strigoi Ghoul King on the Terrorgeist, and he had an Ogre Blade, and that is it. That's all he had, and that guy was a bit of a beast. 2 units of 14 ghouls, 2 units of 11 ghouls, unit of just 5 direwolves, 3 Velbats, 2 Vargulfs, and 3 Vargeists, just to see how they went, which went pretty good. Yeah, so that's my list.
Cool. Yeah, we played straight up open battle, or whatever the hell it's called now. I think I said this on the actual summary battle report. It was like I always thought my original plan, and I sort of just did it without really looking at what Andrew was setting down. Not that I knew what at this point how good some of these characters are. I wanted to have spiders on one flank, most of all the unit stuff in the middle, like the manglers and stuff, and fanatics cause havoc, and then my general and chariots on the other side to sort of come around. That was sort of the plan. And how it ended up being deployed was, so on my left was my chariots and my general against, what do you have? Your Vargeists, some dogs, and some ghouls, skirmishing ghouls.
Yeah. And then there was a Vargulf sort of somewhere between that and the middle.
Yeah, and
so
then
he
in the
could have
middle
gone
was
either
your
way.
other, like more ghouls and your general.
Yep.
On the dragon, or the zombie dragon. And then right over on the other side against what was my spiders and like some squigs and squig hoppers was the, your, what's it called again? Your Strigoi guy, yep, on his Terrorgeist with some more skirmishing ghouls and stuff.
2 units
and
of skirmishing ghouls and a Vargulf and my Felbats.
Oh, yeah, your Felbats
kicking in behind.
Well.
It's a bit of chaff. So chaff on both sides.
Yeah, and then I rolled up turn 1, which I had to go. Now I can't remember. Is that just the rule for that scenario, or is that the rule for all of it? I can't remember if it's the rule for the game.
I think you looked up just the whole thing now, which is random. Like you just if you win, you go first. There's no choosing.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
For turn 1. Yeah, which is a bit weird.
It is weird.
So I had to go first, but because I felt like I wasn't going to just charge 2 wyverns up, because once a wizard, he's going to get killed anyway, and I wasn't going to just fly up. So I would have rather have gone second to sort of see where Andrews were going and get into sort of range. Obviously my manglers and stuff, they were random, so they just moved up. It got pretty far up there, actually. I think the mangler did.
Yeah, mangler did all right.
The rest of my army sort of was cagey and just went up a bit. And as a result, there wasn't really much. In hindsight, I probably could have, I'm an idiot, I could have cast a couple of those spells just for combat the next turn, but I didn't. So I didn't really do a lot in turn 1, I don't believe. And then your turn 1, you did some charges.
Yeah, well, I had to take my Vargulf in because his frenzy. My other Vargulf was out, and my Vargeist of charge range, thank God. But yeah, my Vargulf definitely got in because
into the mangler.
Yeah, that mangler was
way up. Far. Yeah.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I was pretty happy with the Vargulf going in. I thought if anything was going to take the mangler, have a decent crack at it, it was going to be the Vargulf. And then everything sort of come forward a bit, just being a little bit careful of my frenzy ranges for next turn, obviously. And then I've moved my dogs on my right flank all the way forward and just managed to chaff both his chariots coming forward next to his lord. And then, I just sort of had the ghouls in behind them. So, it was all sort of looking, possibly giving him a few long bomb charges in his turn. And I think that was all movement. And then combat, the Vargulf got absolutely pumped. So I charged in. And I went first. I might have taken, a wound off, maybe? 1 or 2?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, he took a couple.
Yeah, and I don't even think it went to crumble. I think he just outright killed him with
I think I rolled a 6 or something at his attacks, or I can't remember. He went pretty good. So I took that out. And then my turn, I ended up trying to get charges off. My general tried to charge your Vargolf,
Vargeist.
Vargeist, bloody hell.
Yep.
But failed that. It rolled double ones for the
Yeah.
charge, so he didn't get very far, or that's something we can talk about at the end.
Yep.
The chariots charge your dogs, and then the Black Orcs. So, yeah, and then more my random movers got in as well, like the the Mangler got into some. Was it into your just more ghouls and stuff?
Yeah,
anyway, like,
I had the big ghoul unit.
yeah, not to like
14.
go turn by turn, but like, yeah, I got some of his. Basically, a lot of your ghouls got it in like I got in combat with a lot of your ghouls, and then my Black Orcs. It was a long charge into your other ghoul unit right in front of your general. I wasn't going to do it. I was umming and ahhing, and then I realized I hadn't actually cast my enhancements yet, so we actually did that. One of them gives them, I can't remember which spell it is, but gives them higher movement. And so, yeah, they got off. It was still a long charge, but they got in. So they went right across the board into his unit of, ghouls. And then, yeah, combat went, like as you'd probably expect, I guess. Like the dogs died, some of the other ghouls died. So like it felt like in the end of my turn, second turn, my spider went into your fell bats, and it was just like, oh, okay, I'm killing like 2 or 3 units here. This is cool. This is like, interesting. And then you would, I can't remember, and then your turn 2 came, and that's when you probably started to make some charges with your big guys like your Terrorgeist.
Yeah, so you didn't follow through with your. Did you? Yeah, you did reform. That's right, because I was in your
with
flank
my Black Orcs.
with your Black Orcs.
Yeah. So my Black Orcs killed your ghouls, but I didn't want to go forward because then I would have got a flank charge on me. So I sort of just reformed.
So one ghouls gave ground and basically reformed in a better position. So I was in his front. So my general and my Vargulf, sorry, on the sort of center right. My center right went into his Black Orcs, and then obviously my Vargeist failed charge into his general, funnily enough, and then my Terrorgeist went into his spider, and well,
that's when it started to change.
Yeah, so this is, I'll probably talk about this guy just briefly. So this is funny when people are sort of like saying, that these PDFs aren't strong. I feel like there's some very strong builds, and this Strigoi Ghoul King is a bit of a beast. So he's coming in at 400 points on his Terrorgeist, but man, he would have got his points back easy. So he's coming in initiative 7. So we found that like he'd even get charged sometimes. And
my
still...
squig hoppers went in. I think you attacked first. I think we didn't do that right initially, but on the other ones, the squigs, you did do it right. Yeah.
And having hatred, just when you can re-roll your attacks, weapon skill, I think it's only 6, but it's still pretty good. A lot of the time you're getting all 5 attacks through, and then when you've got your Ogre Blade, his strength 5, so you end up being strength 7, D3 wounds. Like he was just going really well. The Scream was just coming out and doing actually quite a bit of damage. The old Wailing Dirge. The Terrorgeist in itself, like it's not great, but it's still pretty good. I mean, you got your Thunderstomp coming in. It's only strength 5, I think, but still, it was doing pretty good. So yeah, it was just a really good unit, I found.
Yeah,
so yeah,
wiped my spider in one go because 5 wounds through at D3, and just gone.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, okay, there goes that. Yeah, that's I really need to get this Mangler over there quickly, but yeah.
And then in the center of I don't know. So the problem was because I didn't go in with my ghoul that gave ground. It meant that obviously the gommo could challenge out my dragon. So I didn't take a hell of a lot of guys off on this round. I thought.
I only gave ground. I rolled good enough that I only gave ground to, I think, on that first loss.
Yeah.
So pushed back a bit, but
I don't know if my ghouls. No, you're already charged in, I think, on the right hand flank with your chariots into my ghouls, I think.
Well, around there, turn 2, turn 3. chariots moved up after the dogs and then attacked the ghouls, and then I think my general finally got on into your Vargheists, and then and then my Mangler did make it over. I think you were trying to get rid of him with you couldn't charge him with your skirmishing ghouls. You could only charge the boss on a cave squig. So then the Mangler was able to get over and hit your Terrorgeist. But I don't know what I think. Didn't do much with the impact hits, and then your guy fights first anyway before my Mangler, and then you wiped him.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's where the hatred's just coming in.
Yeah.
It's just like every new combat.
Brutal. Wow.
And then reroll hits, strength 7. It's obviously the D3 wounds, and it's just
Yeah.
It was.
We probably talked through that right flank over just more than one turn, and then like what happened was, my boss on the cave ski was fighting these skirmishing ghouls, and that probably went for a couple of turns, maybe a couple of combats, maybe because they were stuck there for a little bit. But then he had one wound left, and he finally beat them. And the Terrorgeist had gone into my my squigs had to charge you because of impetuousness, and they went in. Or I think they might have failed, but then you charged them.
Yeah,
and then you ended up wiping them off. But then I got my boss cave squig in the rear of the Terrorgeist to try and do something. I didn't think of anything. Got wiped off. and so that guy that single unit just wrecked everything on my right flank, all gone.
I think he took like one wound too, one or two wounds. Like he ate a spider, like the Arachnarok. He's eaten the squig hoppers. He ate the squigs,
herd,
the Mangler, and the boss.
Yeah,
and it's just, and he hasn't even got he's only got a 5-up regen and a 6-up armor save. They can be dangerous, these guys.
Yeah, so that was and then the interesting thing that happened in the middle, which was just because at this point you're just like trying to do something. So then I'd moved my because my Black Orcs survived like a turn more than I thought they might have, and then I moved my Night Goblins right up behind them so they could try the Fanatic launch, because it's just that you could do it in their turn.
Oh yeah.
And so in his turn 3, I think it was, I was able to I was within 3 inches pretty much, and I was able to put them right near his. 3 of them right near his big dragon base.
It was awesome placement,
and then just shot them through. So all 3 of them went through and didn't do a single wound. I did 4 wounds.
That was crazy.
But, he made all the saves.
I think didn't you start with 14 or something hits or something?
It was a lot.
3d6. It was a crazy roll, and then ended up saving them all, which is crazy.
So that was like my last ditch. If I can just at least if I could do 3 wounds, I don't know how many wounds has the thing got, 8 or 9.
8, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking if I could do 3 or 4, maybe by then my general can come over, and maybe it might swing it a little bit by killing the general. Because once you kill the general, then there's a lot more can happen, I guess.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to be. Didn't do any wounds to him.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy when you got so many wounds on something, and the efficiency of the model doesn't drop even if they're down to a couple wounds left. They're still putting out the same damage, which is.
So my general on the left, he did finally get rid of the Varg.
Yeah, they hung around for a bit.
Yeah,
considering you actually charged in, I was quite surprised.
Yeah, they just held him up, and then I think one chariot might have died, but the other chariot went into that Black Orc combat. It ended up dying. Anyway, at the end of the day, my general killed some ghouls after killing the Varggeist, whatever they are, and then overran a bit, but that actually put him in slight visibility of your general, who had overrun and eaten up the Black Orcs or whatever. Yeah, and then he charged in, and then we basically turned 4 on Andrew's turn. We had one more combat, and your Monster Slayer sword took over.
Yeah, so this is the problem with the Monster Slayer sword. So in the Black Orc fight, he did next to nothing. I remember I got a Spectral Doppelganger off the Black Orc fight, but it's got no AP, and it's strength user. So he wasn't doing anything. That it was the dragon that was doing all the killing. He was lucky to get 1 wound off, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just a bit of a heads up if anyone's looking into that. It's not really good against armor. But yeah, obviously, I ended up charging in to Gommo. Then I was lucky enough to get off the Spectral Doppelganger again against this general, and all the stars aligned. I was actually rolling, but I'll put it this way: like that last half of the game, I was rolling quite well. So I'll just add that in. There was some
All
lucky
adds up.
rolls. There was. And I got a 10 on the Spectral Doppelganger for my 2d6 attacks, and I stuffed it up because I forgot about Monster Slayer taking off the armor save, and then I was lucky Gommo reminded me. Otherwise,
Yeah, so I only had a ward. You rolled 1-6 out of the batch, and then I went, I've only got a ward here. Only a 5-up ward.
Yeah,
and I failed. And and so by then I was like going in my turn 5. I had like one chariot and a wizard on a wyvern, which is, he's not bad, but he's not fighty like the other two. And I was like, you're just gonna get him. It's all good. Let's just call it here. So that was it was just funny because like turn 2, I felt like, I've just wiped off a bunch of units, but you add them up, they're probably like nothing, and then suddenly you just got smacked in the face.
Yeah, that confidence. Sometimes like you're like, I got this, and then you're like, nah, I don't got this.
Scale back the other way. Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, like I would have, if like knowing, like for example that, like we talked about this later, like the Terrorgeist guy is more killable because he doesn't have all the wards. But so you think to yourself, okay, yeah, well, I've got to go at it. I should have probably got my general into that guy, obviously, potentially to try and take him out. But you sort of think, well, I'll throw a spider and all the manglers and everything at it, and it's still, well, I didn't throw the spider at it because would the spider have even gone first? I can't remember what his initiative, the spider's initiative is. Maybe on the charge you might have.
The +3, yeah, possibly.
But I don't think the goblins would have, so you probably would have still gone first anyway. So that's the thing. And then the manglers and all that didn't do anything to it anyway. So it was like, oh well, next turn. Need a different list and slightly better playing because my general basically didn't do anything all game. So stupid positioning on my part.
Yeah, it was just, well, I mean, it's only our second game and we're getting used to this new sort of trying to deal with these monsters. So I think that's going to be part of the, the next 6 months to a year is how people are going to deal with these.
Yeah, well, let's touch on, actually, let's just touch on, so we got some feedback about some of the items and I bolded some just on a run sheet so I don't go through all of them because it might not make sense, but got some things wrong or just forgot some things. So I definitely, I mean, Cav Spears fight an extra rank, but only when not charging. So I had that wrong. I think I was adding +1, just like Spears. So I didn't realize that. And then we did do the wrong thing with the sort of clipping of the Terrorgeist charging the spider because Andrew was trying to orientate it the other way.
So that was me. I've read this rule previously and it just didn't click. Like, like sometimes you're just like, you just kind of forget. So that was my fault. Basically, with the spider, it was very close to the mangler and all his other units. So what I've done when I've charged, I think I got 14 inches and it was quite close, but the 14-inch allowed me to change my orientation from being on his, basically clipping his right corner into clipping his left corner. So I basically did a large wheel, went straight forward, clipped, and then turned back around. And that left me further away. I was just worried about his mangler squig getting in. He got in anyway, but
it wouldn't make a difference. But
yeah. So it was kind of a bit like bit of a gamey move, I suppose. But more importantly, you can't do it because the rules say you've got to go as straight as possible and the shortest route as possible. Yeah. So I broke both of those rules.
Does that mean you should have clipped on the other end?
Well, that's what I don't get. Like, does that mean you're supposed to fully clip? Or you're still supposed to like?
Well, you just got to maximize, and it was a 1v1. So
yeah, but if it's 1v1,
does that mean it's clipped? Yeah, I don't.
Well, the closest I would have kind of gone maybe a bit straightforward, and it would have been like maybe a quarter clip, like a quarter of the base.
Yeah.
Not a full clip, but yeah, it definitely would have been.
But I'm just thinking, like in general, like not necessarily that scenario, but also, if you're just charging one monster, charging another monster from a diagonal sort of
it's always going to happen that they're always clipping.
The rules mean you literally have to clip because that's the shortest route.
I don't know.
Corner to corner, like it's a bit weird.
Yeah, I might have to reread some of that. I'm not sure because it looks. Yeah, it's.
I mean, it sounds right. Like I'm pretty sure you're right. Like the rule is, shortest route and all that kind of thing. But just when I'm thinking about it, that implies that the shortest route would be, corner to corner kind of thing. You know? But I don't think that's.
Yeah. No, like Andrew said, in this game, it didn't make any difference because not only obviously like this Mangler made it in anyway, and then the other thing you might do that is looking for overrun moves or something, but directions type thing. But you can reform anyway afterwards, so like it's less of an issue to try to do those things potentially. So, the Swift Stride thing was interesting because originally, when my general failed his initial charge, I rolled double ones, and then we were trying to work out if the ones, like what's the charge roll, and then whether or not we add the Swift Stride dice. But so we didn't because I thought it was just the charge roll of the 2 dice. We just
I
took
would
the
have thought
1.
that.
But someone else was saying no, it's a charge pursuit roll. You add the 6 d6 afterwards. So I'll have to check that. But I mean that's what this guy was saying.
They said it's a modifier to your roll, so it doesn't matter what you roll.
So you would have actually gone 7, and then you probably wouldn't have. You would have charged me then in that next turn because you failed the charge, but you wouldn't have. So there would have been some differences there potentially. It probably would have got my general in combat earlier.
I would have got him in combat earlier, but I would have got through him, so you probably would have killed me earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have taken a wound off, but I wouldn't have taken that much off.
I missed a few panic attacks. This is probably me and my bloody getting confused with what's immune and what's not. So my Night Goblin on a Cave Squig isn't immune either. But then it's also I can feel it's my Tomb Kinginess coming out that I just don't even think of it because I'm not not used to taking panic tests. So I missed that one definitely. That basically when my Squig Hoppers got killed, he should have taken a panic test. And again, I'm not way out of range of my general here, so it was a bit of a dumb deployment. So,
but that was like the fear checks. Like I wasn't asking for any of that because again, I don't play Vamps usually. I haven't for a while. So it's. I think
my
it's
chariots charging your dogs should have tested. There was a few times where it just didn't test.
Yeah, but I mean that's just.
I mean they would have probably passed because my general was right there. But
still, yeah. It's not.
And I don't think that this came in, but I also forgot to add the warband rule on the orcs. Actually, the Black Orcs have it. I think they do. Maybe they don't. The Night Goblins do, but they weren't really in a massive rank. They might have had an extra leadership with that, but that's about it. You did do a frenzy stuff, didn't you? Vargos are frenzied.
They were, so I was measuring all that. So they were outside of the movement plus D6 plus 3 or whatever it is, the 9.
Yep.
So
and the Ghoul King has hunger, so he pursues 1d6. Do you even do? I can't remember.
Nah, so I stuffed up rolling for his hunger because I can get a wound back, and I don't know if I pursued, but if I
did that overrun over the after the killed the squigs.
Yeah, okay, so I would have had to have only done 1d6.
Yeah. I did probably lose. I forgot about the some of the combat res on the big black or one, but I don't think it ended up making any difference because of what I rolled, so it was all good. I'm just trying to think. So wizards in combat can't make dispel attempts. I think like you dispelled my foot, but you were in combat, so you couldn't do that.
There would have been a couple of dispels I've done, definitely.
And we knew these are rules I know, but it's just when you're in the game, you forget. It's like the line of sights. That's sort of the main thing I was trying to think of when I was playing, like line of sights for my hexes and stuff. And that's why I was being a bit weird with my wyvern, trying to make like turn him around and stuff. But
it's funny. If you hadn't publicized the game, you probably would never have noticed. You've never known you made those mistakes.
No. That's the thing. It's
really people
good
watching you.
Yeah, I'm surprised someone watches it that close to pick it all up. I really appreciate it because
it was good. The way it was
I don't
written
watch them
so,
that much.
I appreciated that. That was written so well. It's
so
just
good.
like it wasn't nobody's being a dick. They're just like, I even said at the top, like, great bat rep. Like, really loved it, by the way. I just happened to notice these sort of.
Yeah.
And it was laid out in this nice.
Yeah, so good. And then I knew this about skirmishes, but again, just getting it in our head is like, you got to charge the nearest one. And then when you hit, they have to form up, that type of like, there's all that sort of stuff, which I think there was some times where you're just so used to sort of 8th where you're like, you just I don't know, like maximizing moving things in, I don't know, like in the middles and stuff. So there's probably some things to think about there. And you never align to a skirmisher. They always align to you and stuff like that. So if you're coming diagonally, which is interesting, like what you were saying with the lone characters, they're going to be, you're not closing a door on them. They're like getting pulled to you and stuff like that when you charge them. I would imagine if their class is a skirmisher.
Yeah, they would be. Yeah, they are. Yeah, absolutely.
There could be some really sneaky stuff with these sort of movement rules. Like, I wonder if people can get that complex where they can kind of bait you into a position just by forcing you, with these skirmishes and whatnot.
Probably. There's some...
Or, just that clip, like you can only go...
Well, have you seen the cool skirmish formations to avoid foots and stuff? Where you just... Because, you've got to put a template in the middle of the unit, right? Like when you, a catapult, not as thing. Okay, and so you just do a 3.5 inch circle. It's like, where's the middle of the unit? It's so funny. But I mean, again, these are some things that they're going to have to write some. Because what is the centre of a skirmish unit?
Oh, jeez.
Like, how do you measure that? I don't even know.
I don't know.
He was talking, we didn't do this wrong, but he was just saying, the monster chariots with the lumbering, get the free pivot, after not marching, which we knew. And he said you could have taken advantage of that with the wyvern. But I think, as I remember, I was trying to get around those rocks and I had to march, like I had to use more of my movement to sort of turn him. No, you know what he's probably saying is because you need to be in the front arc, but you don't need line of sight. So I probably could have just moved up, pivoted and been behind the rocks. In my head, I was probably trying to get around the back.
That makes sense.
Although I was trying to drop the foot, at that one, so I think I wanted to go as far as I could. So maybe I still would have marched. I can't remember. I mean, he's making some comments on. We won't go through the combat res ones. Was there any others? This is a question that he rose. He said, when the chariot charged into combat with the Black Orcs and the dragon, I'm not sure if it needed to test for fear because of the dragon. It wasn't fighting the dragon. It was sort of engaging combat with a fear causer with a higher unit strength. Couldn't find a rule that would resolve this. I'm not sure. Is he saying your Vargor, if I charged him, he causes fear too, doesn't he?
Causes terror and fear, yeah.
Yes, I don't know. I'm not sure. I must have attacked with my champ after he died, so good pickup if I did. I can't remember. And then he's saying, your vamp could have used his Salmon spell in the Orc turn, which we knew about, but maybe we didn't do it?
Nah, definitely forgot about that.
Okay, damn. That's the Spectral Doppelganger again.
Yeah.
You could have rolled that up each turn, I mean, I know I was dispelling it. I did get a couple of dispels off on it.
Yeah, you did.
So I don't know.
I only got it once off against your Black Orcs.
Yeah, okay.
And then the second time against the Lord.
That was probably about it. Yeah, it looks like I fell back with 1d6 rather than 2d6, picked the highest. Yeah, I probably did. I don't know what I was thinking about.
Oh, right. Yeah, whoops.
Can't remember.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah. Use stubborn for the Black Orcs. I didn't use stubborn for the Black Orcs. It looked like I did, but I did use the word stubborn in the call. But what I was meaning was 8th edition stubborn, where if you roll under your leadership, you don't run away.
He was doing the correct rolling for the.
It's just I called it stubborn, but my Black Orcs didn't actually have stubborn, so wouldn't have been able to do that. But it was good. I think it just leads on to, like I said, Andrew and me will probably do a video this week on our thoughts of these. It's not so much thoughts. I mean, everyone's talking about these unkillable big lords, but what we thought is, well, how do you combat it? What are the options, and what armies have certain options and stuff? And I guess we're just going to have a bit of a brainstorm on that and list some options. And obviously, for people listening to this, what are the options? Like, tell us in the comments so we can
it'll be
talk
good.
about it on a video. Because I know Andrew spent some time today, and he came back going, I think you just got to bring more monsters. You got to bring your own. But,
I'm hoping it comes to a point where they're not as viable because there are ways to pop them that aren't gonna cost you. Like, you don't have to, spend half your army points limit just focusing on artillery or just like war machines or monster killing stuff. Like it'd be good if you can get something that could 50% of the time take out one of these monsters and only cost you, 300 odd points or something like that. So they're not
in a
viable to take.
tournament, the chance are someone's taking those counters, which then you as a list writer go, oh, maybe I won't risk it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like now it just seems like everyone's countering by just bringing their own big bad monster. So it's kind of like, well, it's almost like you may as well just put them in the middle of the board. They fight it out because that's who's going to win, right? Like as soon as you don't have your monster, you're half
well,
your
it is
army's
funny
gone.
when you look at like the dead, what was left on the board of our game, even though you'd like wiped me effectively. If we played to the end, you would have wiped me. But where we ended it was pretty much monsters on the board. There's 4 flying characters and a chariot and some random other piece of crap. But it's pretty funny.
Wow, must look so different to 6.
I
mean, gommo, your army list didn't sound like it had very much actual units. It sounded like it was pretty monster mashy to start with.
It was. That's the thing. Well, when you add that, because the spider's 310, so once you add him in, you're losing a lot of special that you could have brought or more core. Like my Black Orcs weren't really that big. I was actually saying that to Andrew. Like, is a counter, and maybe it's not, but is a counter going 8th edition and like having massive blocks of 40 or 50 orcs? Like huge blocks where it's like, well, you got all these monster slaying stuff, but I don't have any monsters, and have fun eating through this big unit of. Like, I don't know, is that end up being a counter to it,
Because you're not really breaking. Like those Black Orcs weren't breaking, they were just shuffling back a few inches. Like, so,
so I don't know, maybe there is some options. It just depends on trying it out, I guess. Cool. Anything else you want to say about the game or in general, or is that our episode tonight? I don't know.
Yeah, I reckon.
One thing I just wanted to mention when you're talking about the roll-off thing for the first turn, I think there's a bit of a confusion in the book.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
About it, to be honest, looking through this. Because I can see where you're reading, because in each scenario, it's like once the deployment is complete, the winner of a roll-off takes the first turn.
Oh,
which is how it's phrased in each scenario.
Maybe I was reading the scenario then.
But when I go up and go looking, when I lush looking like the initial part of like how to play a game, it says, there's a first turn section, which is how to determine which player takes their first turn is detailed in each scenario. In most scenarios, the winner of a roll-off chooses who takes the first turn.
Oh, God.
So there's an internal conflict in the book itself.
It must be the first one, the first and only in the book.
Is there any scenario that says that we haven't got through them all?
No, all the scenarios have got the same, I think all 6 of them, have got the same thing where they all say the winner of a roll-off takes the first turn.
Yeah.
They all say that. Every single one.
That's a bit of a typo. They'll fix that. But yeah. I should check I don't recall seeing anything in the FAQ about that.
No,
in the first
I don't think it's
anyway.
been noted before.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to send them a message about that. I think on our Australian Discord, we were talking about, and probably will, like we've got a rules discussion channel, but what we were thinking was sort of expanding that a little bit more to be a bit governed, or having another channel that's more threads of FAQs and what the ruling currently is until Games Workshop give you a ruling. And so I was talking to people who are going to be running tournaments to say, like, if we did that, would you come in and sort of help run that bit? Because I think that might be nice to have.
At least Australia-wide,
just for the Australian ones. And I'm assuming all the other ones are doing similar things, but just
that
try
would be good.
Have a place where you can, manage it.
Yeah, everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they put an FAQ out within a couple of weeks of release already.
Well, did the FAQ come out before we even got?
Yeah, it did.
So
before we got the book. Hilarious.
I don't care that the FAQ came out. I just feel like they should have let us all have it and then wait a bit to get the actual questions in and actually answer the questions we asked. So, because who was asking those ones that they sent? Like, I don't know.
I know. Why not wait for the Australian questions? Surely they're going to be a lot more insightful than anyone else.
Here we go.
Anyway, let's should we wrap this one up then, guys?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's good.
Oh, well, thanks for listening to our hobby ramblings again this week, guys. And yeah, if you're listening to the audio of this, jump on your podcast player, hit 5 stars and share it with your friends because we obviously love more listeners. If you're on social, on YouTube, we've obviously got the video one that you can see here. I actually do have the audio in another. YouTube just released a new feature which allows us to pipe our audio podcast as its own automatic audio feed into YouTube, which then goes to their other apps. So I turned that on this week. So fingers crossed it doesn't confuse anyone. Like it hasn't changed the podcast address or anything. It's just YouTube. Hopefully more just exposure for us. But if you're on there, you'll find us there as well. Otherwise, we're Old World Fanatics in all the places you would expect: Twitter, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, and our email at oldworldfanatics@gmail.com if you need to get hold of us. But until next time, everyone, play some Old World and let us know about how to kill unkillable lords on dragons.
Yeah, 100%. Get your comments in.
Cheers.
This
no
is
worries.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Cheers.
Bye. Josh's favourite part.
Nice.